Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Corruption, there's hardly any topic nowadays that doesn't go to corruption. The IMF lady came to town. One way or the other, we took the conversation, and invariably, we touched corruption. Now, over the weekend, there's been a lot that's been going on. There were these revelations, as you know, one-time secretary to the government, Chief Olufalaye, that a lot of people have a healthy respect for, found himself in the situation of having to admit that he did indeed receive 100 million naira. He wasn't the only one. Former Governor Ladoja as well, and perhaps others. So we have a situation where things are unfolding. Since the time, it became something of a mess, since shall I say, revelation of that particular fact that has been confirmed by Chief Olufalaye. He's made the point that it wasn't for him personally. It did become something of a mess in the sense that there are those in his party that allege that they didn't know of any monies at all. But then this has been countered by others saying that whoever is saying that is not being fair, the whole thing has gone around. But people are saying, why did money exchange hands in the first place? So there are those who are saying that this war against corruption, it appears to be something of the tip of the iceberg that we are seeing. And for those who were reading the papers, I think they might recall that Professor Soyinka, when he was visited by the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, had occasion to remark that we have never had a situation where corruption is being exposed like this. Never in our history. And he said he's quite sure that the government will be able to come to grips with corruption. And indeed, he has urged the federal government not to be intimidated, harassed, or, just don't worry about it. Just keep your eye on this sparrow, keep on going, and we shall arrive. So that's what we'll be discussing today, the extent, one, of the problem and the requirement. What is it that we require to combat it? And I say this against the backdrop of commentary out there in the news space that one of them, in fact, a couple of the guys right now that are helping the authorities with the investigations, I'm talking about former NSA, Dasuki, and Kano, the Biafra agitation guy, that those guys have rights. And if the courts have admitted them to bail, that they haven't indeed been allowed to enjoy their bail, so the commentary goes, is the height of impunity. So they are always saying rule of law. So we have a situation on our hands, and my guest this morning, Dr. Tunji Abayomi, he's a constitutional lawyer. Thank you very much for coming on, Dr. Abayomi.
Thank you.
And Mr. Clem Baye, he's a public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for coming
public
on.
policy analyst. Thank you very much.
What did I say? I meant to say
public policy analyst.
Is that what I said?
Well,
I
that's
said something
what you
else.
want.
But what I wanted to say was public policy analyst. Thank you very much for coming on.
Right.
Let me start with the lawyer, because one of your learned colleagues, Femi Falana, SAN, put out a statement on Sahara Reporters yesterday, which is as good as putting it everywhere, saying that what the government was going through, even though he was in full support of the war against corruption, that what the government was doing by not allowing them, some accused fellows, to go on their bail was nothing short of impunity. As another legal mind, can you appreciate where he's coming from?
Well, I think another colleague of ours, Ebun Adegoroye, Adegboruwa, had made the same statement, I think on Facebook, and I responded that we should really talk law, not sentimentality. Now, the allegation that they were not allowed to go is absolutely unwarranted. They were allowed to go. They left the court. They came out and they were rearrested.
On the steps of the court.
You can even be rearrested and niche outside the court. The important thing is that they were not rearrested for the very same offense for which they were granted bail. It's important to know. There is no universal bail for all criminal complaints, or a bail that covers all instances. A bail covers a particular offense or charge. Now, if there are lots of other complaints or allegations, and the state decides to sever them, distribute them, as soon as you are released, you can be arrested again for that second charge or second complaint. If you are released on bail for the second complaint, you can be rearrested again for the third complaint. If you are released on third, you can be rearrested for the fourth complaint.
But the state must always tell you why you are being rearrested.
Naturally, you will know. You know when you are charged to court.
Well,
because there's a procedure of investigation. Arrest is pre-trial, usually. You go through a procedure of investigation which entails asking you questions, asking you to make statements, asking you to explain, etc. And then the court, the state concludes that, look, we have a case, and they take you to court. When they take you to court, they arraign you. When they arraign you, you may be granted bail. If you are granted bail, you are coming now, there's another complaint there, you can be arrested. You can still try to meet the bail that is given to you, but it's of no consequence as long as you are arrested for another offense. I want to make that clear because, look, there must be a balance here. We cannot encourage criminality, perpetual, vast criminality on the altar of on the altar of right. The state itself has right that is superior to the right of the individual.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you. Thank you very much for that, Dr. Bayami. And well, Clem, I wonder if how do you see this as well? Because there are those who are saying that let every accused, and really they're talking about Dasuki and Kanu, that let every accused have his day in court. Otherwise, in fact, they have gone as far as mention the word dictatorship, because from their point of view, it can't just be depending on the whims and caprices of how somebody feels. There must be laid down procedures. So how do you feel with that kind of statement coming from them, and government having been silent? Perhaps they should be able to communicate a bit better with us, having been silent as to why Dasuki, for example, is not at home enjoying the bail he was given.
Yes, thank you, Yori. The thing is that, first of all, if we look at our criminal justice system, we don't run the jury system. We don't have a grand jury. Before an indictment in the US, you indict somebody before a grand jury. The grand jury sits and then decides that the matter is worthy of prosecution. So it's taken, but then it's still a grand jury. But in here, it is just the prosecution that has to bring a case before the court. And the matter that we're arguing over is their right to bail and whether those bail conditions have been met. But you see, with respect, Tunji Abami is a very well-known lawyer in this country. I think that it is the mode of presentation also that has to do with the issue. The point is this, that in one of those cases, one of the several cases against Dasuki had to do with ammunition, with arms, with, sorry, what do you call it, a gun or something like
arms
that.
Procurement?
No, not arms procurement, just something found in his house.
Oh, okay.
And purportedly, that he was not supposed to be with that particular, maybe some form of rifle. And that's one of the many cases that was the earlier ones. My understanding is that the work of the prosecution is vast, because what they are discovering is like a very deep well, and it's not just a well that is vertical. It is when you go, the lower you go, the more it branches into various things.
Yes.
So what they're doing is that they are struggling to catch up. So as soon as they reach another something, they now go and say, we have discovered this. I mean, look at how far-reaching this matter is. Mr. Fallon once said that corruption will fight back. I think he said something like that a couple of weeks ago. Well, he's a lawyer. He's entitled to his opinion. But the thing is that anything that the prosecution is going to do should make it look very much like this thing is being done very professionally, and it can stand the test of the judges. Now, it is not for me here to impugn the integrity of the judicial system, but we know that at times it is the belief, it has happened, that justice is being bought.
It's merchandise.
So you do not have a clear situation where you are vending your justice system. There are vendors, and there are even agents that are agents to vendors of the criminal justice system. Those are the sad things that we are contending with.
Indeed.
Be that as it may,
Okay.
be that as it may, I would suggest that the prosecution should do its job very tidily. Those that are already on bail, they should begin the trial procedure, and as they're going on the trial procedure, they can even argue against bail, because there are fears about some people being able to influence something when they are...
Because we're talking about humongous sums,
Yes,
quite frankly.
yes, very huge sums. If along the line we discover that there's deficiency in the law, it is the right of the entire system, the lawyers like other lawyers, the justice system, to make sure that the criminal justice system, the laws continue to be amended to take note of some of the exigencies that are happening now.
Now let me take your opinion on this, Tunji. From the beginning, people who were not even lawyers had observed that, this whole big corruption issue and the cases that people that have already been mentioned, that it's going to depend on a very strong prosecution ability. Are you satisfied as a practicing lawyer, and you know how you know the rounds, that our prosecution area is strong enough to meet the task? I just want your opinion on that.
It's not, lawyers manage the whole prosecutorial system. We've got an attorney general. We've got a director of public prosecution. We've got a sound lawyer who is the vice president of Nigeria. And we also have lawyers who can be engaged. I don't think that is the problem. The main problem in Nigeria actually are the courts in this country. I can tell you categorically that I was handling a case once in which the accused person bought a Jeep for the judge, a brand new Jeep, in order to frustrate prosecution.
But that's against the law.
You
can't do that. I mean,
the point I'm making
you
is
can't
that
do that. But,
yes,
but you are saying that you know for a fact
I am
that has
telling
happened.
you the decay, the level of decay in the judiciary in this nation. It is in Nigeria, and I have repeated this again and again. It is in this country, of all the nations of the world, that I first heard the Supreme Court of a nation accused of corruption. It is in Nigeria. And I know instances, if you look at many of the heads of courts in this country, investigate how they got their buildings, investigate the money that is spent for the wedding of their children, investigate the money that is spent for maybe burial of their father, and so on and so forth, you will find that the level of corruption in the judiciary is even more humongous than what we see outside. Now, when you take a case to that kind of judiciary, it's a tragedy. I was invited by Professor Nwabueze when Alhaji Maitama Sule visited him. He wanted me to be in that, and I was invited. And one of the points Maitama Sule said was that when the judiciary of a nation is compromised, there's scarcely any hope for that country. Because everything ends there in search for justice and for peace, order, and good government ends in the judiciary. So the problem is not actually the prosecution. And this is also the problem the government, this present government, may have. If you listen to what President Buhari was talking about, he said a man got a note to collect, is it 40 billion or 400 billion or something like that?
Some horrible figure like that.
Yes. He said 40 billion.
Just on a note.
Yeah. Yes, I don't know the 40 billion on a note.
Billion,
it was 40 billion.
40 billion.
40 billion.
Yeah.
From the central bank. And we're asking that he should explain how he got the money. And now he got a bill that he should go and see his daughter in England. For God's sake, we are talking of a nation and the collective rights of the people, and the pain and the struggle and the lack and the denial and the fundamental denials of this nation.
I hear you.
And we are trivializing this issue. Children have no water to drink. I drove yesterday from Abuja to Lagos. It took me something endless hours. The car was ruined because the road was simply unpassable. You cannot go to the hospital to get anything. This nation is in a mess because of this corruption.
Okay, but
gosh,
I hear you, and I'm going to come back to you. But Clem, because we have a democratic government in place,
yes,
and because in a democratic dispensation there are rules of engagement.
Yeah.
Now, there are those who are beginning to say, this has become trial by media, because the preponderance of opinion is that, look, I know that there are processes, courts have to take their courses, but we have, I don't know whether they call them prima facie, but we have preliminary facts where there is a statement written by the gentleman, by the person concerned. So on those very statements, we can at least move forward. Now, there are those who are saying that, never mind that, it still amounts, if you don't let the person go, it amounts to impunity and trial by media.
No, I think that I respect people's opinions, though I may not agree with what they're saying.
Yeah.
The issue is that it is the presentation. What Tunji is saying here is that the inference is that, let us imagine now that, so I was arrested for cutting down a tree. Okay. So, and then while I was taking, and I was trying to get a bail, and I secured a bail, I cut down a tree. That's all right. It now discovered that in the process, the person that helped me cut down a tree also used the machete to hit somebody's head.
exactly.
It's a completely different thing. You see, it is the fact of the sequencing and the rest. That's why I was trying to look at the procedures and processes to see how it can be done. Let me tell you, there is so much groundswell of disillusionment about the way our affairs have been run. And
It's been mind-boggling.
It's
the
mind-boggling.
revelations that have been coming out.
It's frightening.
We knew there was corruption, but the things that have come out and that are being admitted,
but sorry, I'm sorry.
People
I'm sorry
can't
to interrupt
get their
you.
head around it.
But the point, there's one important issue we must appreciate here. We are still dealing with only one department. We are still dealing with only one small department. Look, let me tell you, I had in August, I was with the leaders of government. Before all these revelations, let me tell you what one of the top leaders of government said. He said they are still in shock because what they found are facts that are stranger than fiction. He spoke of a situation in which one of the ministers of the last government left $4 million and forgot it entirely. Public money. I said, is that possible? He said, how can it be possible? A minister that is controlling billions of dollars, public money. And there are several ministers like that. Now, the last president is from Niger Delta. Why is it today that there are scarcely anything in Niger Delta? It's because of corruption. Why is it that there are no roads, no water? They complain. Why is it that the environmental pollution is because of corruption? So now, the president said, either we kill corruption or corruption will kill this nation. Is this nation not in a mess now? Is it not almost dead? This nation. How can a nation with the level of wealth that belongs to this nation, since these years, we have nothing.
Indeed, and Clem, I'm sure you might have caught the Soyinka statement on Saturday or Sunday, and but let me just quickly, recount it here. Quoting him directly now from the press, we have not had a case where it has been alleged and increasingly proven that money supposed to be spent on defending ourselves, our nation, our neighborhood, has been shared among individuals. We have never had an experience where we were in a state of critical emergency where children are being kidnapped under our very noses. Never has there been a situation where we are helpless and our soldiers are sent to the front to defend our very existence, and we are not backing them up with conduct that shows integrity and commitment. And the man concluded, the Prof concluded by saying that because of these reasons, corruption is really desperate and has chosen to fight back. But I am confident that corruption will be resolved. Soyinka.
Yes, I mean, the issue is this. We had a military whose heads claimed that they had all they needed to fight the war, to prosecute the war against Boko Haram. But when it came to election, they sang the tune of the ruling party and said, they needed 6 weeks. You wonder what they had been doing for 2 to 3 years. And now, when the particular chief of defense staff was now retiring, he now said they did not have the equipment. Institutional falsehood. He used the word before we came on. He said lack of institutional integrity. Institutional falsehood is the order of the day. So the thing is this, that we are looking at the ceremonial aspect of the rule of law. I support it. But the substance of the rule of law is that you know that somebody is not likely to prejudice your further investigations. So I do not, that's why I said, I don't know how the advocacy for it should be better.
Somebody asked on Facebook on this very question that, look, his position being that there's nothing wrong with the situation the way it is. And he had put the theoretical question out that, look, if any of those people accused were to escape, for instance, then what are they going to tell us? And I remember I had responded that, well, from my closeness to lawyers, you probably might hear something like it's better for 1,000 guilty to go free than for one innocent man to be convicted. Lawyers might come up with a thing like that. But rule of law, the ceremonial garb would have been satisfied.
But again, the rule, what are we really talking about? You can go to court. If they are of the view that their rights are violated, the courts is there in order for them to ventilate or litigate.
That is government or the accused?
I'm talking of the accused.
Okay.
There's no problem. So you cannot really say that the rule of law is weighted against them. You still have the option. You have lawyers. Femi Falana can go to court. He goes to court regularly. He can go to court on their behalf if he feels, for example, that their rights have been violated.
Yeah,
but all I'm saying is the responsibility of government is to the people of Nigeria above a single individual. And any government will balance the rights of the people as against the right of one individual. And again, we also have to be careful in this country to avoid clouding serious effort by what I would call trivial, cloudy dialogue about rights. What we are facing in this country today is that this corruption must stop somewhere. And this corruption has been going on for years in this country. And this government came and said, look, we must confront this before it destroys us.
Forgive me for interrupting you, but I think I have to go to a break shortly. Am I right? Or we can just roll it. Okay, I'm going to hold the question because I just have 15 seconds. So let me go to break and then come back and we'll answer the question. I will ask the question. Please stay with us.